All right, Sam. We got Mike here in the middle right. Here he comes. There you go. Speed.
Kevin, you mentioned changes after the game on Saturday. What changes have been made, or what changes are in the works?
I think, any time you're in a situation like this, yesterday, from a schedule standpoint, our off week changes a little bit. We met and conditioned as a team on Monday. Sunday's our day off every week. Today, players will have today off. We're going to practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning with and lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that's a little bit of change for a bye week than we've had in the past. And this week is about working on us. So, to answer your question, I don't think there's anything that's off the table from a position standpoint, any position, and evaluating, where we are right now because, something like what happened Saturday is an eye-opener and should be an eye-opener, not just to coaches and fans, but to players too. And so, we're evaluating that situation. We've got coaches who are out recruiting today and back in the office tomorrow. I have about half the staff, and then we're practicing Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. So I'll have more information probably next week at the press conference for Monroe.
And from a staff standpoint, what have you considered changes on that end, or what?
No, we haven't. You know what? There's nobody who's working harder at coaching, technique, game planning, all that kind of stuff than our guys in this building. And so no, that has not been the case midway. We've got a lot of football to play. We've got 4 guaranteed games, playing for the opportunity for 5. That's a lot of football, particularly with a lot of young guys. So we've got to get the right pieces to the puzzle on the field and do a better job. I've said that, and don't get that confused. That starts with me. So there are a lot of things that need to be fixed. It's not one player. It's not one coach. It's not one thing. When you have a situation that happened like Saturday, so ultimately, I have to evaluate and make sure that we're giving our team the best chance to win whatever we do. And that's, like I said, that starts with me. Now, we have done that. We've done that before, and we've been pretty good. And so there's nothing to lead me to believe that we won't get back out of this thing and get back to where we were.
Go front left, Cease.
Kevin, when you start zeroing in on things, we talked last week about your offensive line,
Sure.
one of the more experienced positions. Why are they? When you look at film, why are they not getting the job done?
I don't know. I think we're seeing some new schemes. I'm seeing some things that we hadn't seen before, coming off of really a similar game plan from earlier in the year. And when you put something on tape, I say it a bunch of times, you're either sending an invitation or you're sending a message. And I think we invited some similar schemes that we've had problems with line stunts and movement, in blocking movement and twists. So that has been kind of the MO right now. And then we started to get on the perimeter, and we couldn't get on the perimeter because, quite frankly, we weren't as physical as we were at the beginning of the year and have been since we've been here. So on the perimeter. And so, that's a double-edged sword right there. So, everything works hand in hand. There's not a one group problem when you have a game that happens the way it happened the other day. And our message yesterday to our team, to everybody was, this program was football-wise, is founded on three things: play hard, play smart, be physical. Of which, the last couple of weeks, that has not been the case, and has directly contributed to us losing. And so our challenge is to get back to those three things and be the program that we were when we started the season and have been since we've been here, and we'll do that.
Front right here, Gabe.
Coach, what over the next week or so will ultimately determine whether you go with Kenny or Kyle at the quarterback position?
I don't know. There's a lot of things that happen in practice. We got a bunch of practices. So, like I said, we've got a week of preparation. We've got 3 this week with meeting time. And so, we've got plenty of time and plenty of reps that will determine, but not just, there's a lot of evaluation going on, to be honest with you. So, to get back to those 3 things that I talked about, it doesn't. The message yesterday was basically, hey, look, there's a lot of things open. You can get beat 59-0 with anybody on the field. So the guys who are going to play to the standard that we set and have been, particularly early in the season and for the last couple of years, I think we've gotten away from that. I don't think we got away from that. And then it's our job to get back to that. And if that's good enough to win or lose, you can live with that. Okay, but you can't live with not having those 3 principles, and we're not going to live with that.
On the right side, Mark, and then we'll go to the back, Chip.
Coach, you mentioned those 3 principles, and you're not going to live without seeing them performed. How do you go about, as a coaching staff, making sure that they get back to those sort
Well,
of
the
things?
same way we began, and the same way we begin every season. And I think, you've got a lot of young players. In my evaluation, we've got a lot of young players that we're getting ready to try to get on the field, and we may have not taken care of those things as much as getting guys ready to play, and teaching them schemes and doing football and on the whiteboard and everything else, instead of playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, the way that we want it to be played around here, and that's what this week's about. And so if we don't get anything done this week, it's going to be that.
To the back left, Chip.
Kevin, can you pinpoint at what point the team stopped playing the way you wanted them to play? I mean, was there a point at Mississippi State? And obviously, the last 2 games, you haven't seen the kind of effort you want to see.
Well, I wouldn't say you got 2 factors, too. It's amplified by the fact that the 3 teams we played are really good, not just okay, and that's reflected by the ratings. But I think Saturday is a situation where it's obvious, and so I don't know. It's hard to say. Just because you lose doesn't mean that you didn't play hard, or just because you lose doesn't always mean your plan wasn't good, or sometimes people are better than you, and you can live with that. But how you lose becomes important to me, and how we've lost the last couple 3 weeks hasn't been our MO around here if we lose. So. Like I said, you get back to those 3 principles, and if we're doing those things, and the funny part is most of the times when we're doing those things, we win. And if we do lose, it's hard to stomach any time you lose, but you can live with it and move on.
Middle right, Sam, then we'll come up front, Brent.
Do you feel like there's some mental toughness missing from some of this team?
Oh, I just identified 3 things that you can put anything in all 3 of those categories. So is it mental toughness? Maybe. Is it physical toughness? Maybe. Is it you can go whenever you lose like that, you can look and say just about anything that was it blocking, was it tackling, whatever it is, you know. You can say it could be a lot of those things, but when I think you have to be careful to generalize about certain things, particularly when it comes to a football game, and sometimes certain situations will create a generalization. So I'm careful not to do that, but I do think it's important that we're honest, like I said, in our evaluation of what we're doing, what we're asking our players to do, and how they're doing it. And all three of those areas have to improve.
And you mentioned the other day that this is kind of uncharted territory for you as a head coach. Have you sought out maybe advice from some of your coaching brethren on how to handle this?
I've had a couple phone calls. I haven't returned them yet. I've had my own meetings. So, yesterday it was really the first time the team has been back. We had Sunday off, so we had a chance to meet as a team. And then, going forward, there's a couple guys that I talked to that have called me right off the bat. So I think they understand it. But there's a couple people out there I'll talk to about it. But like I said, I think the first thing that we have to do is not worry about the opponent right now. We need this week is we're playing us this week and evaluating us across the board. And like I said, nothing's off the table. And that kind of attitude, that kind of those standards, what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, that starts with me. And so that's what this week's about. And we're going to set out to get that corrected tomorrow at practice.
Go Gabe and then Brent and Kate.
Kevin, when the offense has struggled like it has, and you being a former play caller, do you ever get tempted within the confines of a game to dust off the play card? And the second part of that is, how much faith do you have right now in Jake?
Yeah, I've got a lot of faith in Jake. I think you sit there and you look at what we attempted to do, what we tried to do, and I think it's important. We met as a team yesterday, and really for the first time in a long time in my career, we had the whole team setting, coaches, players, watch the game in the way I watch it, which is front and back, but from kickoff to end. So offensively, defensively, special teams, the game flowed, and so guys got to actually see other guys play. Because believe it or not, the offensive guys don't ever get to see the defensive guys really during the game unless they catch a touchdown or interception or something like that. So that's the theory of the effort tape. That's also the theory of, hey, listen, what's really going on, and what the explanation of why we're trying to do things. Because I think a lot of times people get caught up in just what the play is, what the reasoning is behind the play, and so. Yeah, I think there's a lot of effort and work put into that plan. The execution of the plan, that's different. So what we have to do is, again, go back. Is it scheme? Is it personnel? Is it match of scheme to personnel? All right, and are we communicating it the right way? Are we getting things done the right way? Obviously, we're not. And so, how do you fix that? That's our job, because to start the year, that was not a problem and has not been a problem, and what we have to get back to are the little things that create an attitude of we got to move quicker. We got to be more assertive in all phases, and so to do that. That's practice has got to change.
Down front, Brent.
Just along those lines, then, how much faith do you have in Coach Snyder to ultimately get it done for you on the defensive side?
That's where we are right now too. I think obviously there's a lot of people based on these last two questions that don't have any confidence in them, and I think our team does, and I think our whenever you start questioning anybody. Brent, I would say this, that, just like everything that I've talked about, our talk is inside the building. And I think players play and coaches coach. And there's enough evidence on tape that we've got to make sure that our players are playing at the level that they need to play through the scheme on both sides. And so, we've got plenty of football to go. And because of that, like I said, you got 4 games playing for a 5th game. That's a lot of football. That's a lot of young guys that are playing a lot of snaps. So nobody's working harder at putting the right product on the field or the right scheme on the field than our coaching staff right now.
Down front, Kate.
Kevin, when you got here, the major question was, can Kevin Sumlin's air raid offense succeed in the SEC? And then you guys had a lot of success, obviously, the last 2 years with Johnny. But with the last 3 games, with being shut out, do you start to say, maybe we need to make at least some more significant changes, some different fundamentals, I don't know, just because of the struggles the last 3
Well,
weeks?
it's you can say that, I think we probably played with a tight end more than we ever played last week. So there's nothing to gain from that knowledge, since where's the tight end, and then we got shut out. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And you've heard me say it a bunch. Whether you're a spread team, whether you're a spread gun run team, whether you're an option team, it all comes down to how you do things, not what you do. And right now, we're not doing it very well, and for the reasons that I talked about just a few minutes ago. So, I think that the misnomer about our offense coming into the league was that it was a finesse offense. And I saw a group of guys the first couple years and the first part of this season play with real toughness on the perimeter, block people inside. I haven't seen that. So it gets back to the attitude that I'm talking about. Whatever you do, you're playing football. And whether you're in 1 back, 3 backs, 3 tight ends, or whoever, no backs, at a certain point, you have to be a physical football team. And that's what I was getting at with the question earlier about attitude and where we're headed, what's been lost in the last couple of weeks besides games, and what has to return. And it would be different if that attitude or those things, those principles, were not in this program or were not in this team to start the year. So, those are adjustments, those are things, observations that I've made, and those are things that I've got to fix.
Okay.
And the good news is I've seen it. I've seen it start at the beginning of the year that way. So, it's not like we're looking at a team that started off the year that way and it's not in there. It's in there. We got to get it out.
In the middle, Sam.
Saw Alonzo Williams get banged up. How's he doing?
He's pretty banged up. So he is not one of the guys I'm talking about. I'll put it that way. He and Ivan have really, Ivan probably should not have played in that game. He was hurt. Looking at the video, we should have got him off the field because he went from trying to be who he was to being almost a liability at the end, not being able to move. And my conversation with Ivan is I'm so proud of him, but there comes a time where, toughness becomes not being very smart and hurting the team. And, here's a guy who we were hoping to get 15 plays a game out of. He plays 58 snaps against Arkansas and on and on and on. It's taken its toll. And that 8 straight weeks of him playing, well, he missed a couple. We gave him a couple early, but the last 3-4 weeks of him playing, 3 technique in the SEC have took its toll on him. So he needs this week. He and Alonzo. And, when you got both those guys out there, really the guys who hold the point for us, beat up, nicked up, that was a real problem for us Saturday. But it gets back to what I said. We've got other players. We've got young players that have to be able to go in there. And part of the issue is the rotation. You know, to be able to trust some of these guys and being able to rotate in big games and not be overwhelmed. And that's that attitude that I was talking about earlier needs to go across the board, not just to a couple, 3 guys who've played football, but some guys on the team who have talent but have not been very tough with their talent.
Anything else? All right, Coach, thanks. We'll get Coach Snyder here.
Okay, thank you.